Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation, yes, even Notre Dame fans, and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show. And boy, you know, if you think things are gloom and doom around Columbus, Ohio, ladies and gentlemen, where we're recording this after Ohio State got beat for the first time after a 16-game win streak, Ohio State finally fell in the Big Ten championship game to Indiana on Saturday night in Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, 13-10. Ironic. The last time Ohio State got beat before that was 13-10 by Michigan. End of last year's regular season. Then Ohio State went on a tear. They took it to the first ever expanded college football playoff national championship and went 12-0 in the regular season this year until running into equally 12-0 Indiana. Ohio State was number one going into the game. Indiana was number two. Ohio State got beat 13-10, missed a field goal. Jaden Fielding missed a field goal near the end of regulation that possibly would have pushed it into overtime. But then Ohio State also blew it in two trips into the red zone. That was one of them, and got 0 points. Red zone, I mean inside the 10-yard line. So, But Ohio State knows where it's going. It's going to play in the college football playoffs. It dropped from the number one seed all the way down to the number two seed. Ohio State's going to play the winner of a first-round game between Miami. Yes, Notre Dame. Miami got in, and you did not. Notre Dame, Miami at Texas A&M. The winner will play Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl on December the 31st. A place where Ohio State's been, and about 9 times out of 10 has been really good for them. But a couple of years ago,
the Mizzou, no, that wasn't good.
Against Missouri, they had nothing. They gave them nothing. But the bottom line is Ohio State does move on there. The sun did come up through the haze. We could see it a little bit.
Yeah.
Did not come up in South Bend, Indiana today as we record this on a Sunday afternoon because Notre Dame, ladies and gentlemen, did not make the college football playoff 12-team field.
No, I'm not laughing at them, but Notre Dame is chapped. They're taking their ball. They're not
first. Their athletic director put out I think it was the athletic director.
It was
left no holes barred statement about how they were wronged and believed definitely they were wronged and all this stuff. And then what'd they do after that, Clay?
Well, Brady Quinn was one of those people who cannot believe that other teams jumped them or whatever it was. It just and no, they're not. They are done. They're not practicing. They're not getting ready for a postseason game. They are done because they can do that, I guess.
Stick a fork in the Fighting Irish. They're done. Bottom line is what they're upset about, and I understand this. Last week's college football playoff committee rankings, Notre Dame was ahead of Miami.
Right.
A team, Miami, which had beaten Notre Dame in the season opener this year in a great game, but they got beat. And everybody always wondered, why is Miami ranked behind a team that it beat and they both have the same number of losses? Well,
head to head.
Yeah. In the final analysis by the College Football Playoff Committee, it seems like they listened because in the final going, they made up some excuse that Brigham Young got beat. And so it put Miami and Notre Dame suddenly head to head, 10-11 or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it was 10-11 spot.
Right.
And they opted to go finally with the team that beat the other team, even though they could have done that 2 weeks ago, last week. But they did not. That's why everybody's rankled because what do you mean when both teams didn't play, suddenly head-to-head now matters? See, in their mind, they had Virginia ahead of Miami. But that was always going to change if Virginia won.
Right.
It was going to change. And if
and they didn't.
Virginia got beat, it was going to change. So it changed. So much for conference championship games not ruining your fate. Ask Virginia about that. Right. Meanwhile, it didn't seem to do a whole lot to Alabama getting waxed.
No, they were
getting waxed by Georgia.
5 SEC, 3 Big Ten.
Hey, but 3 Big Ten teams are in the top 5. You'll hear me ask Ryan Day about that later in this really, really good show, just about what that says about the committee's thoughts, at least on the Big Ten. Okay, you only got 3 teams in, but they're 3 in the top 5. And you got to remember, 2 Big Ten teams got buys. That would be Ohio State and Indiana, which means last year, I don't know what the payoffs. I haven't seen the updated amount of payoffs, but that's huge because Indiana and Ohio State get $4 million each that goes into the conference coffers, obviously, and gets divvied up.
Right.
Get $4 million each for making the field of 12. So does Oregon. But Oregon's the 5th seed, so it will be hosting James Madison on the first round playoffs. Matter of fact, I think they're the Friday night game. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, so the Big Ten Conference already has $12 million in the coffers. When in fact, it already has. I'm talking based on last year's payouts. You add in the fact that you also get $4 million for advancing to the quarterfinals. So really, in reality, they have 8, 16, $20 million, the Big Ten does, that they can bank on already because Ohio State and Indiana got buys into the quarterfinal round.
You're getting deep over there, man.
Oh, no, I'm just telling you, the money does matter.
No. I'm giving you props, brother.
But you know what? I'm not for any college football playoff bracket that would have gotten 6 SEC teams in it.
Well, I'm not for any bracket that sets up mismatches. Ole Miss, Tulane. Ole Miss beat them 45-10.
Okay, Nick
Oxford.
Saban.
Yeah. So, I mean, all right, Tulane. All right, maybe you belong, but I think you're going to get waxed unless they really do miss Lane Kiffin and Oregon. James Madison. All right.
Nick Saban made a good point that you got to take care. I mean, it's a G5 group of 5, so you got to take care of the other guys.
You got to give.
And you agreed. These things are voted on. They don't just come out of the ether. You agreed that you would have these spots available for 2 G5 teams. If in fact it worked out that way, and it did work out that way because Duke beat Virginia.
True.
Miami
overtime 27-20.
But the point is, and then James Madison's now in the field, and that's too bad. Take care of it the next Cry Fest, which will be coming up soon. It'll probably be an announcement coming out of that eventually. It's going to move to at least a 16-team playoff. Will that appease everybody? No, because you'll have a 17th and 18th and 19th team,
still,
or maybe even a 20th that think they still belong. The more you open it up, the more there are, quote, quality teams available that you shortchange. But
no, I get why Notre Dame's,
I get why they're upset too.
Hacked.
They played for the championship last year.
But I get why Ohio State is hacked. I mean, you talked about those 2 drives. I just want to give you these stats. 2 drives, 27 plays total, 151 yards, almost 15 minutes time of possession, both inside the 10, as you noted, and no points. If they get a field goal, both, I mean, they win the game. And
you can do the math all you want. Bottom line was 13-10, but go ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing is, everybody said, well, Ohio State's never been down in the second half. And I think there's something to that because it's human nature, man. You're trying to rally, you're down. Indiana's got Big Mo on their side.
Hey, if you can't make a field goal from 27 yards to tie the game, with what was that, 2.5 minutes left?
Yep.
Well, that was not your night. If your quarterback's knee slips down at the 4.5 yard line on a sneak on 4th and 1 from basically the 5 to keep a drive going instead of kicking a field goal, you went for it. And a quarterback sneak should be the most functionally counted on play in football. I know you can always jam a quarterback sneak, but your quarterback's knee hits the ground and they go back and look at it and go, yeah, he was short.
Do you think
that's not, I don't know how you blame that on play calling.
Right. Don't you think there is something to the medal that comes for IU having rallied at Penn State, they had to rally at Oregon, did they not?
Oh yeah. Well, they was tied 2020. Right. They had to rally at Iowa.
Yep. And so they're used to it. Ohio State was demolishing everyone. And I'm the guy who said, well, why are you counting that against them? They're drilling these opponents who can't hang with them. And in the end, and as I said earlier today about Julian, it maybe never being in that blender like he was against the IU front.
Well, I praise you for one thing, and
The blender.
You just throw it out, keep throwing it out there. Yeah,
You're
it was a blender all night.
right.
But the point is,
Hey,
the knee slip, whatever, where Ohio State would have gotten 4 more downs from inside the 5-yard line to possibly score a touchdown. The missed field goal, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about. Missed field goal would have sent it to overtime, so we might still be here talking about it. If they'd have stopped a couple of long passes on 3rd down, like I said on Channel 10, I said, with Ohio State, it seems like when you throw the ball deep against them, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are good. One of them is you get the reception. That Charlie Becker guy, whoever heard of that guy until Saturday night, wide receiver playing because Omar Cooper got hurt early in that game. Charlie Becker, wow, did he have a night. And a couple of huge catches, including a pull it from Ryan Day's playbook against Notre Dame a year ago when they clinched pretty much the win over Notre Dame in the national championship game, the deep pass to Jeremiah Smith. Who saw that coming? Notre Dame didn't. Ohio State didn't see that coming with Fernando Mendoza, who I do believe is going to win the Heisman Trophy now.
Yep.
You got to admit, when they needed to make a play, they made a play. When Ohio State needed to make a play, forget the play calling. When they needed to make a play, Ohio State did not. They had faux pas.
Did you see on social that Becker's?
And by the way, the point I was making was,
I'm sorry,
if they had made a couple of those plays, we wouldn't be talking about what a great team Indiana is coming from behind or in the clutch.
I was just going to throw out, I saw on social today, Matt Finkus claims that Becker's dad tried to play football at Ohio State, was not very good, apparently.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty good.
And he said that kid doesn't deserve to be all that cocky. But anyway,
he actually said that.
There was,
even though the guy executed at a ridiculous level against his beloved Buckeyes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He didn't really say that.
No, not in those terms.
He's probably just taking a dig at his dad.
Yeah.
All I know is Charlie Becker.
He did.
Charlie Becker, go back and look at the play-by-play, anything you want to watch. Charlie Becker came up huge.
He got open
repeatedly.
Yeah.
For Indiana, who came up huge for Ohio State repeatedly. Well, Jeremiah Smith did. He had 8 catches.
Did fine,
but no touchdowns. Carnell Tate did, especially in the first half. But then Indiana changed some things around in their coverage, and basically, once much they took Carnell Tate away, it was like, goes back to that blender quote by you, Julian, saying looked like he was trying to play quarterback while he was looking through a blender because so much crap was going on in front of him by the Indiana defensive front, especially the front 5, which had a hell of a night. And just when Ohio State needed a play, they would foil it by either quick penetration of the offensive line and making him have to step off the pitching mound just when he was ready to release a fastball, or just getting after him. He was sacked how many times?
4 or 5 is what I counted. They never put sacks in the team stats, so you have to go looking through the weeds to find that. I'm looking maybe on the wrong page.
Yeah, I think you're looking on the wrong page. They're pretty prominent on one spot, but anyway, that doesn't matter. The bottom line is it was a 3-headed monster problem for Ohio State on key moments offensively, key moments defensively, and clearly a very key moment in the special teams realm.
And give Mendoza credit.
But Joey McGuire, I thought, did a pretty good job punting, for example. So
sure.
There's kudos there. But when you let the team come off the goal line with a big-time pass, you deserve what you got. The bottom line is Indiana scored 13 points. 13 points.
On a 44-point average.
And won the game. That's all you need to know is, number one, Ohio State's defense had a pretty good game, except in a couple of moments, which cost them. And Ohio State's offense had a poor game, except in a couple of moments. And that's it.
Moments.
When you get inside the 5-yard line twice and come away with zero, Zippo, as Hayden Fry, the late great Hayden Fry would say, points. That's a bad night.
There's the game.
Yeah. But you know what? Nothing you can do about it.
Not
you
anymore.
Can maybe if fates allow, it'll be 1 versus 2 in the national championship game, January 19th at Miami Gardens, aka the side of the Orange Bowl, aka the Miami Dolphins home stadium. maybe Ohio State will get back there. Like we said, Ohio State will be sitting at home on opening round night, unlike last year when they got their mojo back together with a stirring, ridiculous victory over Tennessee and ran the table. Then now they have to wait. They have to hope for one another term. Remember last year I coined the term, the 4 teams that got byes all got beat in the quarterfinals.
Right.
I called it the bye-bye. And we'll see if Ohio State can handle business, because it looks like, I think Texas A&M is favored right now over Miami. Texas A&M is hosting Miami in the first round. And it's funny because it could be Ohio State versus Texas A&M this time at Jerry World, aka AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, smack dab halfway between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting because that's where Ohio State beat Texas in the semifinals last year on the way to the national championship. I like saying championship just because
you do.
In my own mind, I think that sounds funny. In most people's minds, they're probably quite annoyed by it. So I'll say championship.
It'd be a home game for the Aggies. That's for sure.
And it looks like on the bracket, if Ohio State was to win, they would play the winner of Georgia. Yeah. Well, you just got this sense Georgia ended up being the number 3 seed.
Georgia, Ole Miss.
Yeah. But it looked like it would be the winner of Georgia, probably Ole Miss, because Ole Miss is hosting Tulane. Georgia meets the winner of that game in the quarterfinals, and then moves on to Glendale to meet the winner of Ohio State versus Texas A&M or Miami. So Ohio State could end up going to a lot of places just had really good luck at before they get to the Miami Gardens, which they haven't had that much good luck at.
That was a loss to Clemson there.
Well, lost to Clemson, and then they got beat by Miami in the regular season down there. That's where they also lost to Alabama in 2020 for the national championship. Right. I said championship that time, the national championship. So that hadn't been a great venue for Ohio State.
No, to an empty house back in 2020.
I was there, man. The press box had all this plexiglass in it so we wouldn't cough on each other. And it was like literally watching a game through a house of mirrors. But we'll get to that if, in fact, Ohio State gets to that point. But real quick, so what's Ohio State going to do in the interim? We're going to get to several questions. We in the media got to ask Ryan Day on Sunday after the pairings, the rankings were revealed and the pairings were made. By the way, just real quick before we move on, so thumbs up or down on Notre Dame being superseded by Miami, a team it lost to, but in the season opener, being superseded by Miami in these college football playoffs, and Notre Dame basically being told to spend the winner at home.
Every game matters. If Texas beats Ohio State, they're in. Ohio State's not the one probably going in, and
Ohio State's not the one going in.
Yeah, if
Ohio State's the 2 going in.
Well, yeah, and now you've got 2 losses for Ohio State. Every game matters.
Yeah.
And I've always contended head-to-head is the essence of sport. You can put any dadgum formula out there, but the scoreboard don't lie.
Let me tell you something. If you didn't have head-to-head, and everybody's going, why would you play these games? All right, but if you don't have head-to-head, now you are really putting your fate in a committee's hands.
Oh, my gosh.
So, people who poo-poo those kind of matchups and say, well, you ought to just play 3 rummy dummies, what Indiana did this year. Play 3 rummy dummies in your non-conference.
Yeah.
And then but the Big Ten plays non-conference games. So, you play, you're going to play 9 Power 4 teams minimum if you play in the Big Ten conference. The SEC is going to that, and they're acting like, and now all of a sudden they're acting like they invented it, and they should be praised for putting their teams in such jeopardy. But that's a story for a podcast for another day. The bottom line is now but if you don't have those quality wins or losses, now you really put yourself at the mercy of a committee, and it's called a committee for a reason. They're going to commit something. They're either going to commit something good for you or something bad for you, but you're going to leave it to a vote. And that's why take care of business.
It seems like the criteria changes per year. Well, this guy's off. Let's bring this guy in. Well, he doesn't believe what that guy believes.
But you know what? Yurchik made a good point, though, when he was explaining how Miami could have moved ahead of Notre Dame in the final analysis, because the reason Miami was behind Notre Dame in the original committee rankings way back in, what was that, late October, or was it early November? I forget the first week now, was Miami had lost like 2 out of its last 3 games or something going into that first vote. And Notre Dame, after losing to Miami and losing to Texas A&M, by the way, they had 2 losses, not 1.
Yeah.
And I know everybody knows that, but this is who they lost to. Quality losses, but one of them was at home to Texas A&M, where they could have taken care of business. So in that first rankings, the committee looked more favorably on Notre Dame because of just recent history. Follow my drift?
Because of close losses.
Yeah, right. But look who Miami lost to. All of a sudden, Carson Beck couldn't hit the side of a barn with a thrown ball there for a while.
And they thought their big run to the 10-2 was superseded anything else they did.
Yeah, you're talking about Notre Dame, but in fact it didn't, because Miami went on a, for want of another term, tear at the end of the year, and so in their minds it put them closer back together. And then you remove the Virginia roadblock, and boom, you have them comparing 2 teams, and they go, "Hey, we took this one vote and put Miami way down here to begin with because of recent history leading into that vote. Now we have complete history in front of us, and fellas." I think it's all fellas, right, on the committee right now. I think it is. Fellas, Miami beat Notre Dame. Enough said. End of story.
Thank you.
Bottom line, that's it.
I'm glad you came around.
Yeah, and but you know what? Like everybody thinks it's so simple. Those, I'm sure it's. I mean, I give them credit for putting together these rankings, to be honest with you. And everybody goes, well, let's go back to the BCS formula. You remember how many times the BCS formula with the different polls and computer rankings was tweaked?
Yeah.
Because somebody didn't like the way something came out. Yes. Somebody always gets beat. Somebody always wants a recount. Somebody always wants to know whether the machines are jammed. Wait a minute, that's another thing.
All righty then.
All right, there we go. That's enough on that. But let's get back. First of all, Ryan Day, what's his team going to be up to before we get into the weeds?
All right, a
little bit of the game on Saturday night, and what can be learned or what can be ascertained, including, how much. I mean, Brian Hartline getting that job in the middle of the week last week at South Florida. Obviously he was calling plays on Saturday night, as Ryan Day clarifies.
Confirmed.
But we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, let's get to this.
Went through with the team here just about half an hour ago. The goal is to be at maximum speed, effort, violence, really peaking at the end of the month here, because it's a significant layoff. So the first thing we want to do is the guys who have played a significant amount of football, let them get their legs underneath them. But also, as we get into next week, make sure that they're keeping their edge. I think that's important, because it's not like a bye week. This is a long layoff. And last year, we had the first round game, and then we went right back into it and found ourselves in a rhythm. So that's something that we're really looking at hard. Visiting on it today with Mick and Quinn, and making sure we're putting together the right plan. Put together a really good practice schedule around Christmas. Travel down there, I believe, on the 28th, and then keep a lot of the same things as we got closer to the game as we did last year. So to answer your question, want to get the guys healthy. Want to get them rested physically, mentally, emotionally. A lot of guys hurt after that game. They were all pissed, just like all of us. But got to wake up and move on, and figure out how to get those things fixed. But then also physically. But not so much that we lose our edge. So that's the balance that we're looking to strike here in terms of the practice schedule and how we're putting that together.
They don't want to bye. Go ahead.
I contend they might have lost their edge, and it's time to get a new edge. There's segments to this thing, and now they're about to go into the 4th season, regular season. Michigan last night is a championship of event. I think that's separate, and I think you get to flush that and start anew and build that sucker up to where you think you're 10 feet tall and indestructible.
Are you a power flush guy, or are you just hold the handle down until it flushes?
A power flush.
You know,
guy.
we've got a power flush. One
Well,
of ours is a power flush. It goes.
Yeah.
You know what you have to do? The answer to that is
sure.
move. The bottom line is you got to hold the handle
Thank
down
you.
and make sure you take care of business. That's what you have to do.
We got the 1-2.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so
That's far enough. Yeah.
we'll give you that.
The high volume and the low volume. But that's the point. You do have to flush it eventually. I'll get into me asking Ryan sort of that question, is because big time mistakes were made. Some plays were called that maybe some other play should have been called, but you know what? A lot of that's after the fact. You kind of want to know what they're thinking, but the bottom line is really because you're going to be playing a totally different opponent come December 31st in the Cotton Bowl. So, that is what it is. But you want to move into Austin Cedarville sound here a little bit before we move in, let him sort of set the scene. Ohio State's left tackle on how things just didn't go the way a lot of people thought they would, including the Buckeyes.
No, I mean,
you expect the pressure they brought tonight. I mean, was it? I'm sure it's nothing you didn't practice.
No, yeah, we saw it on film. We were prepared for it, and they got the best of us tonight.
2 trips down inside the 10, come up empty. What are your emotions related to that?
I mean, we just got to execute. When you got to score when you're in the red zone. You can't leave it up to field goals and by chance. But I mean, when we're down there, we got to go score. That's what we got to do.
What's your message to your guys when you come back into the locker room after a game like that?
I mean, we know we get a second chance. We don't know where it's going to be at, but we got to come out and swing. We got to swing first. Just set the tone that we had last year and just keep it rolling.
Specifically as the captain of this offensive line, you mentioned, you feel like Indiana's defensive front got the better of you guys tonight. Just what's the message to your guys up front?
Yeah, I feel like we didn't play the best. We left a lot of plays out there. We were one block away, one gap, one run, one gap, whatever you want to call it. We were just one big play away to hitting, and just didn't have it.
You guys are coming off the Michigan. We're coming off the Michigan game where the line was really highly praised. What was the difference between Michigan defensive line and the defensive line you saw today against Indiana?
Just 2 different schemes. Indiana, they move a lot. Michigan, they move a little bit, but I mean, it's just 2 defenses.
Austin, you mentioned last year, you guys obviously experienced that and bounced back to do what you did. How much can you use that experience? I know it's fresh, but to help you go into the postseason or the playoff?
Yeah, we can use it. We just got to see where we're at and get on the film and what happened, see what happened, what went wrong, and just bounce back.
How did you set the tone that week after last year's game, and how do you think that could help you coming into next week?
We just had a mentality. Just everyone had a mentality that we just got to go out and just do what we do. And I guess we got to get back to that.
I know you can't control what happens in a 12-team bracket, but as far as the chance to see them again, is that something you guys would embrace to have a second crack at?
Yeah, we knew we were the better team, and we just didn't go out and execute and compete at the high level that we're capable of, and hopefully we see them again.
Is there already, you said it there, is there already a desire to get revenge for this game, like seeing them again in the playoffs?
Yeah, we knew we were the better. Like I said, we knew we were the better team. We had a good game plan, and I felt that was our worst game overall.
Did they do anything on the front defensively that maybe caught you guys off guard?
We just beat ourselves.
Bo Jackson's running game was kind of hit or miss today. Just what do you feel like he was saying and what he was able to create?
Yeah, like I said, we were just one block. I felt like we were one play, one block, one gap, 1 inch away from just breaking and just establishing the run game up front. And as an offensive line, it just sucks because we know what happened. And we were there and we just ran out of time.
Yeah, they did not fool us. He said they played better. Tip your cap. They whooped us.
Here's what happened. Ohio State has not played a team of this caliber all season.
That's true.
And when you play a team that has, in my opinion, Indiana, people can argue, they have like personnel now.
Talent
pretty
equates.
much. Now what do? Indiana came out. You heard Ryan Day talking about getting back, you got to get that violence back. You've got to get whatever. You've got to get that edge back. Do not equate Michigan with Indiana in terms of talent this year and in terms of the velocity by which Indiana played. The velocity, I use that term a lot, and some people look at me funny. Dude, they were just playing a half step faster in a lot of respects. I keep going back to this, and Austin Serveld is thinking this very thing. They got beat 13-10, not 33-10. 13-10 means you had several opportunities to win that game, maybe even win it going away. I mean, Ryan Day brought that up in some of his remarks today. No, I mean, you were down there inside the 10-yard line twice and came up with 0 points. If you just score a touchdown and a field goal, I know it's ifs and buts. Point is, you could say Texas could say the same thing about Ohio State last year when they're down there knocking on the door to tie the game up, and Jack Sawyer and the defense did their thing. But the bottom line is it does come down to that. What do you do once you get inside the house? You got your foot inside the door. Do you make the sale, or do you get your foot slammed on by the door? Ohio State got his foot slammed on by the door by Indiana, and that's hard to take. But also Ohio State on a consistent basis did not match the velocity by which that game was played, but still only got beat by a field goal. And they know that. Those are the toughest losses, is when if I'd have gotten just out on this one guy on a Bo Jackson run, he might have gone 50 before they touched him.
Preach.
There are several of those kind of plays. I'm not talking about just Austin Serveld. I'm just talking about offensive linemen. You obviously noticed they changed right guard after a few faux pas there. They took Tegra Shabola out and put Gabe Van Sickle in, and he played fairly well. But who knows? You know, if you don't win, you don't get a winning grade because why would you, right? But the bottom line is, there are all kinds of places. That's why Ryan Day didn't sleep on Saturday night.
Yeah, he said he didn't.
They got home like 1:30 after, quote, flying back, end quote. And, of course, you don't sleep because it's like anything else, like a golf round where you missed a putt you've always made. Why did you miss that putt? Well, the grain was a little bit different on that green, and I didn't read it right. And boom, I hit a 3-iron, straight right. I don't play with 3-iron. I hit a 4 hybrid straight right, dead right on just a wide open hole. That's what happens to you in these games. And Jaden Fielding, 27-yard field goal, and you pull it left. And anybody who's ever kicked a football, and that includes myself, knows that can happen any moment, especially when you go in there and you're trying just a nth degree more hard than you have been trying. We saw it happen to Dalton on Saturday on the what's it called, game day on ESPN.
The
guy named Dalton.
The student?
Yeah, the guy, no, it wasn't a student. He was an older guy, but a guy named Dalton and his wife were there, newlyweds. And he works at a boat building company. I just remember watching that segment. I like watching that segment.
I do too.
Because I dreamed, in the day I would have dreamed of being on it. Yeah, because I could kick straight. I couldn't kick very far, but I could kick straight. But bottom line is, his first kick went okay, and for $1 million. So they moved him up like 15 yards closer. And what are you going to do when your first kick went and fell way short? You're gonna, just like in golf.
Yep.
If you if you hit a ball fat, you're gonna hit it. You're gonna raise up and top it, right? Or the main thing is you're gonna swing too hard and jerk it left. Well, that's what happened to Dalton. That's what happened to Jaden Fielding. That was barely left, but it's still left, man. Barely left and wide left are the same. Count exactly the same.
And notice when Ryan was in the session on Sunday and he was calculating, you add this field goal, you get a touchdown. He's thinking 24-13.
Of course he is. That's what I just said. That's what I just said.
Yeah, and it just, anytime you're close or we should have won by 2 touchdowns.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. But he also, takes into account, some of the plays that were called when they don't work. Boy, that was a stupid call. But then again, I thought they stuck to a plan a little bit more than they should have in that game. I didn't think but the thing is, some of the things they had called got totally screwed up by the helter-skelter pass protection that was going on, right? Just when you're standing there, Julian, saying you're ready to launch, or, you need one more half second to launch, suddenly you got to move. Well, like Ryan said, some plays that were intended for Carnell Tate to enjoy in the second half. He had the only touchdown catch when Julian stepped up and scrambled and hit him in the end zone. If in fact you have to move off platform at the split second before you ought to be launching the ball, then that takes Carnell Tate factor out of the game there in the second half. And that happened several times. Jeremiah Smith had 8 catches. They didn't take him out of the game, but they didn't let him score a touchdown.
That's right.
Hey, as Ryan Day says, Tim May says this all the time when people ask me who do I think is going to win. I always say the team that scores the most points, because we can talk about all the baloney we want to. You got to get the ball over the goal line.
Yeah.
Can I get an amen from you?
Red zone.
Can we
red
pass
zone,
the plate right now?
Red zone. Red zone.
Yeah, red zone's what it's all about.
Yeah, and like I said,
you don't want to be the dead zone.
Yeah, I just think not being in some tighter games came home to roost a little bit. That's all.
Well, you know what? In boxing matches, first round, it's all about taking the measure of the man across from you. And if you don't have that by the middle of the third quarter in a football game, you're somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think Ohio State took the measure, but found out on Saturday night they didn't measure up. This was 1 versus 2, not 1 versus 22. Indiana belonged there, proved it, and now they got the spoils. They're going to the Rose Bowl. Well, you know what? Ohio State's been to the Rose Bowl several times in the last many years. Ohio State's going back to the Cotton Bowl, where it is held sway with the exception of 2023. Oh, threw up a little bit in my throat there. Thinking back to that game, the worst offensive line game I've ever seen Ohio State play against Missouri. Unbelievable. But otherwise, Ohio State's had great sledding. It's turned out to be great sledding for Ohio State. But let's move on. Speaking of that, let's get back to the question that seems to be on everybody's mind. But wait a minute, with Brian Hartline being named the head coach at University of South Florida on early Wednesday morning in the middle of them getting ready for this game and stuff, but mainly it's what is Ryan going to do now when it comes to the offensive coordinator and the play calling, the sacred play calling? Like everybody thinks Brian Hartline is pulling the plays out of his pocket with nobody else knowing what he's going to call. That's total fallacy that even some sports writers have a hard time grasping, that in fact that's not the way it's done. Although it looked like that at times on Saturday night, I will say that. But let's get to that and sound from Ryan Day about that. And this is, by the way, Ryan Day talking about how the next several weeks, how things, he was asked how by Stephen Means, how things might change in that regard, as he thought about that. And obviously Ryan Day had already thought about that while he was not sleeping on Sunday morning.
And he met with him later that day.
Right, here we go.
Yep. Met on it today, and he's going to continue with the same plan. I do think having, a 3 or 4 weeks to prepare for the game will be beneficial. And so we'll still have everybody involved with it. And we're going to work hard to put a game plan together and make sure that we're putting our guys in the best position to be successful.
Well, there you go. I mean, you do what you do. He's the head coach. He's decided this is the way to go. You don't necessarily reinvent the wheel, but you know what? When the wheel's squeaking or it's wobbling, you go tighten the nuts on it, right?
Yeah, and I think
did you like that term?
I do. But you turn 8 of those an hour, so
yeah, but
you know what I'm saying.
I don't usually leave them hanging out there from a double entendre standpoint in that regard. But go ahead, though.
Well, there's a lot.
What's your take on that? I guess
there's a ton of work to be done, and though you might, in one side of your brain, say, "Well, go on, go ahead. I know you got 1,000 things to do. We'll figure this out." And I'll go back to play calling, and he might have said, "Nope, we need him."
I just envisioned just two sides of your brain yelling at each other.
Well, that happens. Sure, that happens.
Yeah, I know that happens. I know it happens live it happens live to tape a lot. But yeah, that's exactly what you do.
Well, I think Urban used to refer to this, and he didn't like when the media started,
getting into the inner workings.
Yeah, you stay out of this. Everybody's into the blame game.
Right.
But we're just No, I've never been that. Oh, that's the one.
Yeah. That's the problem. Get rid of that, and everything's fixed. That's kind of what the NFL does, by the way.
Yeah.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Goodbye.
Fired Chip Kelly. 2/3 of the way through the season.
Yeah.
Their new offensive coordinator paying him $6 million a year. They fired him because obviously he's the reason. Well, no, obviously, as you look back now, he's not the reason, not the only reason. Let's put it that way. But
they're bad offensively.
But for example, everybody's caught up in the play calling on Saturday night. And I can see some questions on some of the play calling. But like Bill Landis asked Ryan straight up, so who was calling the plays on Saturday night?
So Brian was calling it, but we're all involved. All of us. We try to give as much input as we can, and try to organize the thoughts and try to help the best we can, and we'll continue to do that. I do think having more time to prepare for this game will allow us to be more efficient. There's no question about that. But Brian calls the plays, and we'll continue to call the plays. But we're going to have everybody involved with it, and it's a group effort.
Yeah, that's the point. It's a group effort, like I've told, but it is a group effort. They put together a game plan. They don't. I don't know why you have to explain this every time. But the bottom line is the direction they went, for example, with their ability to pick up what was happening in front of them, the offensive line ability to consistently pick up what was happening in front of them. Everybody knows about Indiana and the way it likes to move with its defensive front at the snap, sometimes just before snap, but mainly at the snap, loop, and stunt, do all these things. You can watch it on video till you're sick to your stomach, but the bottom line is you got to face it in live reality. It's like, what's that great boxer? Is he going to throw a left jab here, or a right uppercut, or come over with an overhand right? I mean, you don't know until the play is developing of what's happening. So then you have to be keen. You have to be keen on reaction up front. And they weren't always keen with reaction up front. There were a lot of free runners that disrupted the plays on Saturday night. So who knows whether it was a great play call or not. That's my point.
Yeah, it's
really easy to say Julian Sayans should have fixed it no matter what happened, and he did fix quite a few on Saturday night.
He's still
including that great scrambling play where he ran and then finally found Carnell Tate at the sideline.
Great play
on the drive that looked like they were going to go down and win the game with, but then they didn't. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that's what we're talking about here. By the way, Clay, with Ohio State and its several fight songs, theme songs, etc., I keep reminding people the end of one of those songs is "We'll win the game or know the reason why."
That's right.
Oh, hi, oh. Well,
that's what.
Of course, you want to know you want to know why the number one team in the country got beat 13-10, right?
Well, they got to figure it out.
Of course, you want to know that, and like Pat Murphy, one of our friends, asked Ryan, how much was it Ohio State mistakes and how much of was kind of what Indiana was doing, and because you gotta kind of know, you have to take that full assessment. How much of it was us? How much of it was what they were doing? Why didn't we adjust to what they were doing if it was what they were doing? Yeah. Or are we just inferior, in certain spots? That's a hard lesson to take and learn when you're the number one team in the country. Yeah. You're number one with a bullet. You've won 16 straight games. Let's see what Ryan had to say to that question.
I think anytime you're playing this time of year, whether it's in the Big Ten Championship or in the playoffs, you're playing against good teams. So we never want to not give credit to our opponent. They played a good game. But it's clear that we were not at our best, coaches and players. So we need to be moving forward. And this is certainly an opportunity for us to learn from that game. And when you leave it to one play in all three phases, you put yourself at risk. And the idea of leaving no doubt did not happen to them. So we're gonna make sure that we get on the film, and certainly you said haven't watched it. I've watched it all a bunch. Didn't sleep well last night. Have a sick stomach in my feeling over the game, and so do these guys here. But once you wake up the next morning and figure out what the new mission is, then it gives you some direction that way. But we'll use this as motivation.
Bottom line. Go ahead.
Well, there have to be times when you say to yourself, you don't want to do this, but you say, we're number one, we are superior. I mean, we're better. We have more talent.
We're better than we showed.
We give up 7 points a game. Nobody can beat us. And yet 13 beat you, a team that averaged 44. And the defense is probably like, I think we did our job, but you don't want to get into that conundrum.
Well, no, because like I've explained it to people a million times. If you've got the lead and you're the defense, you should win the game. Ohio State had the lead, 10-6,
a narrow lead.
I don't care how about the lead, dude. Bobby Bowden, I've told people this a million times. The last thing he told his defense before they retook the field for the second half of any game was, and so now put this wherever you are in a game. Hey guys, we're leading. They don't score, we win. Okay, it's as simple as that. When it's your turn to go do your thing, you do your thing. Offense, when it's your turn to do your thing, you do it. Special teams, when it's your turn to make a field goal, you go out and make the field goal, especially if it's 27 yards. This isn't throwing it all on Jaden Fielding by any stretch. That's more of a testament about how poorly the offense finished in the red zone on Saturday night, that they had to kick a field goal. And he made a field goal, by the way, in that game. So, the bottom line is, like he said, every segment, offense, defense, special teams, had a faux pas, a play, maybe two, that ended up costing them, added up in that game. And so that's what I'm talking about. Defense, when you're playing with the lead, don't let them get the lead back. That's what your job is.
Yeah. It's
I don't care how close it is. I don't care how much they're averaging per game, and you've held them to this amount. Keep holding them, so to speak. Kind of like the Indiana offensive line was holding Kenyatta Jackson.
Down after down.
Dude, that was. Let me say this, as I pointed out on a tweet, there are 3 people watching for holding, at least 3. Mm-hmm. The umpire, that the referee's got a C on his back, and then the referee on every play. And what happened? I have no idea.
At times he was double. It was a
double whammy. It should have been a high-low. I mean, one of those.
Right.
Okay, if it wasn't holding, it was a high-low. I mean, because one guy hit him up high and the other guy hit him low. And it's like, what are you watching if you don't see that right in front of you, right in front of where the quarterback is? What are you watching? Right?
Check your vision there, boys.
That's why I always like watching basketball referees. I mean, dude, I watch all kinds of things when I'm watching a game, but one of them is, where is the referee, the 3 referees, where is the guy who's standing here? Where's he looking? Is he looking at what's right in front of him, or is he looking under the basket? A lot of times you'll see him looking under the bag. Go, what are you looking under the basket for?
How could you miss it?
There's a guy standing right under the basket or right on that line to make that call. What are you doing? And so, yeah, that stuff drives me nuts, because I thought the officiating for the most part was really good on Saturday night. But you can't let egregious holding happen and just like, oh, that's the cost of playing football. So don't call holding at all. But anyway, other than that, I really don't have an opinion, but it is what it is. But, I think it was Jeremy Birmingham who asked, Ryan, it seemed like in his 11 losses now, what is he?
82-11.
82-11 as a head coach, and his 11 losses. Seems to be, is there a recurring theme? Does it seem to be a recurring theme to those? A lot of people think there are. And of course, here's what you have to understand. Almost everybody they've lost to was damn good.
Oregon, Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, damn good, at least on that day. Let's put it that way. But obviously, we know who the losses are to. And the bottom line is, what is kind of a recurring theme. And that other team is trying to do what you're trying to do to them defensively. They're trying to take away what you do best, make you play left-handed, yada, yada, yada. It's football 101 every time we talk about these things. But clearly when they win, when they hold sway, they have taken you out of what you want to do in some form or fashion. They definitely have kept you from scoring the way you want to score. But let's just see what Ryan had to say about that. Because, Ryan, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, is self-reflecting more than anybody right now. Because like a while ago when he talked about it's clear we were not at our best, that's a dagger to the heart of a head football coach, because all of that finally comes back down to him. Why were you not at your best for a championship game? And of course, they had just played Michigan, like we talked about earlier, finally beat Michigan for the first time since 2019. A lot of emotion spent in that game, et cetera. I remember asking Kenyatta Jackson, how do you get yourself back up after a game like that to that level? And he basically said, you stick to the process, and blah, and then you get ready to go just like you always do. But every game is not equal. They weren't as fired up for Purdue as they were for Michigan. I don't care. Even if you ask them and they say that is untrue. But like you pointed out, we were talking about discussion, this is a huge game, and you just played a huge game in your mind. That was a huge game a week earlier at Michigan.
I liked what you said. Don't confuse Michigan with Indiana.
Right.
You beat the 19th, 18th, 15th ranked team, and this crew 24-2 or 23-2.
23-2 going into the game.
Incredible. I mean, that's why I said last night for Indiana, it was like summiting Everest, because you talk about where they came from. They're like Mississippi State. They have very little.
They're like Sir Edmund Hillary when he first went up Everest.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But who do you have with him? Tenzing Norgay, I think was the guy's name. He'd probably been up Everest 10 times, But Sir Edmund Hillary gets all his history book accolades,
and not
for being the first whatever, Western European or whatever you want to call him.
Who was the other guy? Give me that again.
I think it was Tenzing Norgay.
I got to tuck that away.
The Sherpa or whatever he was, Sherpa.
Yeah.
I mean, he carried he carried most of the gear, but But anyway, let's get to what Ryan had to say, when talking about, the sort of the recurring themes.
Did have one turnover on offense, and we really didn't strike any balance. I think that's probably one of the things. We called 35 passes and 22 runs, and didn't really get the run game going. We had 5 sacks, and then third down in red zone certainly was not good. And so, when you're not winning in the situations, you don't have balance. That is a recipe for not a very good day on offense. So I know everybody in the program is looking at it to figure out how they can get better, but we need to have balance, that's for sure.
Andy Anderson.
Was he talking
Absolutely.
Was he talking about IU 35-22?
No, Ohio State's game.
Well, that's not correct.
Well, I know, but I mean,
anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think, Ohio State only had 22 plays from scrimmage in the first half. That may be what he was referring to.
Yeah.
The point was they only had 22 plays.
The imbalance.
So to think you're going to run 11 times and pass 11 times,
no,
that's not going to happen in a game like that. You're going to go with what you think the situation calls for, and you're going to take a shot or two. There was that pass to Jeremiah Smith, which I think they ended up kicking a field goal after deep. That was, that was an opportunity there.
Well, yeah,
that was the.
It was.
I mean, I don't even know if that was the. Wait, was that the field goal, or was that the slip on fourth down by Julian Sayin when he was going for the sneak? The point is, they didn't make a huge play count like it could have.
Well, when JJ was
which is
open,
6 points.
Yeah, was behind the guy, and he Julian underthrew it just
right
a little bit. Well, they caught him. They put him down. They put him on the ground. He's gone. He's done.
That stuff happens.
Right.
All the second guessing that goes on, of course, after a loss, Ohio State.
Sure.
Why didn't Dylan and our friend of the program, Dylan Davis, brought up a good point. You've got that package with Lincoln Keynotes. Remember, I asked Ryan a couple of weeks ago whether you felt confident to run that now, just run it like it's part of your offense, and basically indicated, yeah. But we didn't see that on Saturday night in the red zone. Lincoln Keynotes, who can runs with more zest, more gusto than Julian Sayin does, but also can throw the ball. So he does present still a conundrum for the defense when you put him in there. And Dylan Davis was asking about that package. in so many words, he was asking, so
Why didn't you use it?
why didn't you use it? Where was that? So let's get to what Ryan said. I don't feel sorry for Ryan. It's like, it's like me or you having a bad podcast, which happens every day, right? And then we go right back in here and we have to answer questions. Well, why'd you say that? I mean, as good natured as both of us are, how long would we tolerate that kind of interrogation?
No,
you wouldn't want it.
Being on TV, you
probably dealt with that every day in foot and TV, though, didn't you?
Yeah, you come off the set, you think you had a good show, and then somebody's called.
Yeah.
Why the hell did you?
Why'd you call Texas A&M Texas Tech?
And by the way, where the hell are you from?
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah.
You root for. Anyway.
Yeah. Blah blah blah. But anyway, that was a good question, though, an excellent question by Dylan Davis. So he's a friend of the program. We may get him on here in the next week or two too, because he's one of my favorite people. People know that. I've digressed way too much here. Here we go.
Well, yes, because what we're doing didn't work. So then when you look back on it, you say, yeah, that's probably something we should have done. There is stuff that we have practiced and put in, and so yeah, because what we didn't work, and so we got to keep figuring out what we need to do to score points. That's the bottom line.
Bingo. I didn't use the rest of that because that is it. Scoring points. Yeah. Ryan Day has said it a million times. He said 1,000,001. We can talk about nuance. We can talk about plays you should have called, couldn't have called. Bottom line is you got to do what it takes to score points. So they'll go back and look at things.
I want the leaked audio of their conversations. Wouldn't that be interesting?
But the interesting thing,
who's really doing what here?
Why this really matters, though, about taking the cadaver that is the Indiana game and chopping it up and figuring it out and dissecting it and everything else you can do to a cadaver, is you may play them again in a month.
Yeah, wouldn't that be
a little over a month? You may be playing them again. You're the number 2 seed. They're the number 1 seed
for all of it.
And you could be playing them again in Miami Gardens, trying to grow a national championship. There, I said championship again. Well, finally, let's get to what question. Well, no, it's no big deal. But the question I had for Ryan at the end, a couple of questions I had for him as usual, and as usual under the guise of Jerry Emig or Mike Bassford, I get to ask last question in parentheses question mark. Or multiple questions. But anyway, I digress. You'll hear what I ask him because I include the question in this. But you gotta mash this thing up, but you got to move on also. I mean, time waits for no man is the saying goes, or woman for that matter. And so let's just see what he has to say about that, because now we're coming down to the nitty gritty. Now you're playing for henceforth, you're playing for a national championship. So let's see what Ryan basically has to say.
People call it the quarterback sneak, but right? For the most part, and a couple times Julian's knee is touched and things like that. But are these tough times to go back and regurgitate what went on in that game? But some of them were very strange. There were holding calls that weren't made, et cetera. How do you put that all in a compartment and then move on?
Well, I think
you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think the bottom line is, like, you can't leave it to one play. Yeah. That's the bottom line, because you're right. When you start looking at a game like that, you can look at different things, and but at the end of the day, like, we were not at our best, and so you start to point to these 1 or 2 plays that made the difference in the game. Well, that's our fault. We can't let that happen. So we didn't execute sneak, and so that's on everybody.
Yeah.
But then there were other opportunities that we could have converted on, and so that's what happens when you lose a game. You look at all these different things to figure out what didn't happen. And when you win games, some of those things get kind of, we talked about this before, get brushed under the rug, and you kind of move on. So we're going to take a hard look at everything. And that's sometimes, again, when you go through a loss, it just makes you look harder, longer at everything you do.
And now the dust is settled, 3 of the top 5 teams in college football playoff rankings are from the Big Ten. What does that say about the appreciation you think the committee had for this league? Is that justified?
Yeah, I think when you look at the teams, when you look at, first off, you have 18 teams and some of the best teams in the country in this conference, and We play 9 conference games. So I think when we just take those things into consideration, it's significant. But then I think when you look at the quality of the teams, it stands out.
Well, there you go. And by the way, that previous stuff from Ryan Day, he did everything but say what John Cooper used to say. It don't catch up with you till it catches up with you. And that's why you're always trying to look at what you're not doing well and reinforcing with your players and even your coaches. Hey, you know what? There's going to come a time when this is not going to be good enough, or we can't have that mistake here. Whatever, I mean, you're always working to get rid of what doesn't work, and also what could cause mistakes, or why do you continually have a mistake on a certain kind of play and things, because there's a good chance you might have to use that play, that scheme for someone. So that's why Ohio State will be Ryan Day. Like you said, he didn't sleep at all last night, and he might not sleep at all tomorrow night, because he's working. He wants another national championship. He has left no doubt about what's driving him and what he's trying to get driving his team. And we've heard that from the team too, about the goals, etc. And they were 1, 2, 3. Well, two is gone. They did not win the Big Ten championship, although they played for it. There's something to be said for that, of getting back to the Big Ten championship game for the first time since 2020, since COVID. Now, will they get back to the national championship game and win it a second straight time? Will they win a second straight championship for the first time, national championship for the first time in Ohio State history? That's right in front of us. We'll all get to witness that.
Yeah, I saw a couple people say this as well. What is their 3rd and 1 play? What is their 4th and 1 play? There is no one play. But you've got to be so confident in whatever that is. If you're going to sneak, well, and I'm sure maybe they don't practice. I mean, I don't know.
No, they practice. Yeah. You got to practice it.
But the Eagles have that damn thing down to a science.
Well, yeah, they got the tush push. Ohio State's got the push now. But, what bothered me maybe.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have.
Well,
I mean, Nate Roberts, but I don't think Nate Roberts was even.
No.
I may be wrong. I don't think they had a fullback on that play, for example. But here's the thing: what you want in some form or fashion is you also want doubt in the defense on what are you about to do here?
Well, that's
are you going to play action and sprint out right and hit your tight end wide open like they've been a couple times this year? I mean, on that 3rd down play down at the goal line before they missed the field goal. In my opinion, that was a good call, except it's a play we've seen from Ohio State. I mean, they send the play action, send the fullback into the flat, and then you have a trailing tight end. And lo and behold, Indiana was ready for it. Indiana jumped both of them. And Julian Sayin still threw a really nice ball in there to Bennett Christian, but the defender was faster than Christian and got there and knocked the ball away. So then they try a field goal, which they practiced ad nauseum, and missed it. So what do you do? I mean, you shouldn't have called that sprint pass.
Right.
I know some people might look at that as an RPO. I don't, I would think it could be an RPO if in fact Indiana, nobody's there and Julian Sayin could just run it in. But he reminds you a lot of what Joe Montana and the San Francisco 49ers ran during their heyday, including the pass that beat the Dallas Cowboys one time that really put San Francisco on the beam in terms of winning those Super Bowls. So
you had to bring
sometimes,
that up. Okay.
but sometimes you just don't execute, or the other team executes better.
Or they scouted their tail off and they were prepared for every.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Boom, wait, I'm out of here. I'm chasing that tail. I'm chasing that trailing tight end. Boom, bang, over. So everybody lives to do another day. We'll be living to do a couple more podcasts this week. We did this one early. Hope you got it early. Hope your mailman got it to your mailbox early.
And now that we've kind of dissected everything, now it's time we can move on. We've gone, as you said, over the cadaver.
No, you never move on. It is the right of many Ohio State fans, including a guy I'm having dinner with on Monday night. My great buddy Jeff Snook. I'm having dinner with him on Monday night. And I know what's coming, so I'm just gearing up for it because he's relived every Ohio State big-time loss in history at least 15 times with me. And I'm sure it'll be another one coming on Monday night. But the bottom line is So did the coaches. So did the players. They had a chance at a Big Ten championship and couldn't get it done. Much of that was due to Indiana. Much of that was due to Ohio State. The part that's due to you makes you sick to your stomach if you're a player or a coach, and you know that. And so you have to, like Ryan Day said, it leaves a sick stomach in your feeling. And
Well, we're closing the book.
I know exactly what he means by that, a sick stomach in your feeling.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm Tim May. That's Clay Hall. He doesn't seem to have a sick stomach in his feeling. Until next time, we will see you then.